3 years. That's how long it's been since I quit my corporate job and I left the States. I quit the rat race and I moved completely abroad. So today we're gonna reflect back a little bit and ask the question is, when do you know that you need to leave the rat race? Maybe when do you know that you need to leave that job, or maybe relocate to a new location? I'm gonna be sharing with you a little bit of my story in hopes to inspire some people and maybe spark the conversation about alternative living or just chasing one's dream or where one feels the best at. So I worked a corporate job for a little over a decade. It was in California. And I'm originally from the States, but my family has descendancy from Nicaragua, meaning they're from Nicaragua. Now, I started this corporate job not knowing much. I was young, so I got into there with a lot of energy and I started working as hard as I could. Eventually, I worked up the corporate ladder. So I started as a team member, but before you knew it, towards the end of my career, I had a lot of people that I was responsible for. And towards the end of the career, I really started to hate my job, for lack of better terms here. I despised going to work and I didn't want to do it anymore. So I started to question and think about, why did I feel this way? Am I the only one that feel this way? I think that in the US, specifically in America, I think there's a lot of people that feel this way, that go to work and for years and decades and hate their job, but they still show up. So it had me thinking about this whole rat race concept. So there's a graduation going on right now and church celebrations here in Nicaragua. All the kids are graduating school. Take a look at how beautiful this cathedral is. We're getting ready to go to church and celebrate. And then right here at the park, they're having all the kids go up and receive their diploma. So it's a really festive time right now here in this small pueblo. This pueblo has less than 10,000 people. So it's actually an indigenous community here in Nicaragua. Very peaceful. I like coming here just to recoup and just walk around. Now, having left the States over 3 years, I've reflected a lot on life in the United States. Now, I love the US. It's a beautiful country. I love the people there. But sometimes it's set up in a way where you prioritize work. Work is everything. Climbing the corporate ladder is everything. And if you don't assume that position or assume that, you're looked down upon and it's difficult for you to advance in your career. One of the things that I hated about this corporate life was having to ask for PTO, for personal time off. The reason I hated it was because I felt that I was giving someone else the power to say no for something so important in my life. And I didn't like that. To be honest, it was a feeling of discomfort. Not only that, to top it off, that you only get 2 to 4 weeks off a year. It's like, what can you do with 2 to 4 weeks off a year? Us as humans, we need more time off. We need more time to explore, have personal development, spend with family, travel. So that cap of having your time off, plus putting the power of your freedom on the company or a boss that might be even a jerk or might be a dick, but you can't leave it. It's just too much. I started to really despise that. So when I was looking at alternative living, I realized that not all countries are like that. For example, in Central and South America, they don't prioritize work. It's mostly family. They get more time off during the year and people are more in a relaxed vibe. And in all honesty is that when you are going to pass away, they're gonna replace you at work and they're not gonna care. 2 weeks later, there'll be someone new, and maybe you have a few close friends that'll remember you, but at the end of the day, no one's gonna say you spent a lot of time at work. So because of that, I came to the conclusion that when do you know that you need to leave your work or pursue a different career or go somewhere else in general, is when you begin not to feel fulfilled at where you're at. When you begin to go to work just as a ends means to pay your bills. When you begin just to zone out and be a zombie at work and hate being at work, that is time or a sign that you need to look for something else that will fulfill your soul, something that gives you more strength when you go to work, more energy. So that is part of the reason I decided to leave after 10 plus years at work, because it got really to that point. Now, how do you escape the rat race? Escaping the rat race is a whole different topic, but from what I was able to do is that you need to be able to set yourself financially, because unfortunately we live in a world that you need money to live your life. Now, if you're gonna live in a state that's really expensive like California, you need a lot of money. But if you decide to move somewhere else, an affordable country like Mexico, Guatemala, or somewhere in Colombia, you need a lot less money. So if you look at the world really as your oyster, or where you can go, then it opens up more possibilities on how to escape the rat race a lot sooner. So I saved money, and that's when I decided to leave California, because another thing is the cost of living there. It is crazy how much it costs you just to live your life. It is ridiculous that you need to pay over $2,000, $3,000 in rent, and then you need to go work to pay everything back. That leaves no time for anything. So that's why I looked at a country like Nicaragua, because it's a beautiful country, the people are awesome, and you don't need to break your back to pay for a living here. Another realization I came to after traveling through Central and South America is the personal freedoms that you have in a country like the States. In the States, let's say you have chickens, you can't really start selling eggs to your neighbors. If you have a cow, you can't really start selling milk. You'll get shut down. You can do it, but someone eventually will knock on your door and tell you that you can't continue to do that. They'll shut you down. If you want to build a tiny home in your backyard, good luck with that. You need to pull a bunch of permits. You're up to your neck with permits. It's a lot of different things that you're limited on doing. For example, here in Nicaragua, if you want to buy a piece of property like the one behind me, start selling eggs, start selling milk, make cheese, you can start immediately. You're not going to be shut down. So a lot of freedom in that sense. If you want to build a tiny home community, go ahead. You're not going to have any restrictions. So when you zoom out and then you look at how other parts of the world are doing things, you begin to realize that there might be other places that are suited for you. And this whole rat race concept is maybe something we get trapped into without us realizing or waking up to see what we're doing, because that's what the rest of the world is doing. I can only imagine how many people are going to the job that they hate and they're still working it because that's all they've been taught to do. I understand taking the leap is very scary, but let me tell you that you won't regret it, because at least you tried something that you wanted to do. In worst case scenario, if you get out of that rat race and things go bad, you can always return back to the rat race, recoup, plan again how you're going to jump back out and try again. Right now we're going to be climbing these set of stairs up here. There's a beautiful viewpoint that I want to show you guys. It's actually a special place. A lot of people come here. These set of stairs are beautiful if you want to come work out or get your cardio in. But we're about to make it to the top. Here they have the Virgin Mary at the top. There's a story that goes that the Virgin Mary appeared here to some people, and since then they built a sanctuary out of here, and people come here to pray, to look for wisdom, to share their problems, and have faith that the Lord will cure them. So this is a beautiful spot. I love it. They also have a church up here, so you can see right next to it, that is beautiful. That's the town that we were just walking right now. Look how beautiful it looks. The sun is going to be setting over there pretty soon. You know, one of the big regrets I had about my tenure at my career was not quitting sooner. But the thing about quitting is that it's very scary, very intimidating, and I could see why a lot of people don't take the jump and they stay at the job. I debated this jump for like 3 years. It's not something easy because it's something that's uncomfortable, and us as humans, we tend to seek comfort, and when we have comfort, we don't want to leave comfort. So it might sound like what I'm saying is easy, and I'm not saying it's easy that you should go quit your job and you're not going to feel scared, you're not going to feel uncomfortable, you're not going to have those little sleepless nights of what's going to happen. But what I'm here to tell you though is that it's the best feeling in the world when you actually do quit your job. I remember when I quit my job, I got home from work and it felt like I took a backpack off, like a backpack that had weighed over like 500 pounds that I had been carrying on my back. It felt so amazing. I felt light on my feet. I felt like the chapter or that book had been closed and I was getting ready to write a new book in my life. You know, one of the things I realized too throughout this whole escapism of the rat race and moving abroad is that us as humanity, we tend to not give ourselves enough time to rest and do self-discovery. Just go out and explore without worrying about the future or without worrying about what you're gonna do next month. We seem to get accustomed to the routine and turn everything else off. For example, getting that corporate job and working it for a long time even though you don't like it. Besides hating my job and wanting to leave this corporate lifestyle that I didn't like anymore, part of the reason I decided to leave the rat race was to chase my dreams. You know, I had this calling that was so deep. I remember being at work and all I can think about was this dream that I wanted to do, and I couldn't think about anything else. I was behind the keyboard in this cubicle in these four walls, like in the typical US style, and I could only envision being outside, being in a coffee farm, planting coffee, rebuilding my family's coffee farm. So this urge and this call of chasing my dreams never left me while I was working this corporate world. So this notion about not liking my job and then having this dream, it just added more fuel to the fire, something that was like pushing me and telling me to jump, you know, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be fine. I think there's something to be said in life for something that you want to do. If there's something in life that calls you and that you think about a lot, a dream that you want to chase, it's always worth chasing that dream even if the possible outcome is failure. Because once you get older and you look back, you're not going to regret giving a crack at something that really you had passion for, or that you wanted to try, you wanted to live a certain way for a portion of your life. That is the beautiful thing about life, is that you can design it the way you want. It is hard, granted, it's not easy, there's a lot of fear involved, but once you cross to the other side, your perspectives are open and you look at things a lot more different. Now thinking back, I remember after quitting my job, I sold everything I owned, and one of my dreams was to ride my bicycle from California to Nicaragua. So that's the next thing I was going to do. And after I did all that, there was this sense of fear, this sense of uncomfortableness, this sense of the unknown, this sense of doubt of what's going to happen or if I'm making the right choice. Because people will say, why would you leave a job that's paying you well, it's secure, and you're set until you're 75? People would say, why would you sell everything and leave the States, a country that is stable and a country that you won't have any problems? Why would you leave your family and friends and start a new life and move to Nicaragua? So I did have all those things in my mind while leaving. It's not like I left everything and I didn't have those doubts. But one of the things that kept me going forward was the thought of restarting my life. I wasn't scared of having to go back to where I just left and restarting and taking another attempt. So if I figured if that's the worst case that can happen, I can live with that and be okay. But what ended up happening though, through the journey of cycling, I became rich in time. I became rich in perspective. I remember riding my bike and losing track of what day it was of the week, what time it was, when was the last time I ate. I just got lost on the bicycle and I was in awe while I was riding through Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, looking at people live their life. And I felt like I stepped out of this matrix. Essentially, I stepped out of this rat race of commuting and sitting in the car and doing the same thing over and over. And I was an outsider of looking into the whole world move. So it was an interesting perspective to have your eyes open in life. And it got to show me that it's okay if you don't know what you want to do. It's okay if you're not sure on your next step. But if you have an intuition or something you want to do, just take the first step and things will line up and eventually lead to where you want to go. So here's to chasing your dreams and your wildest dreams becoming a reality and escaping the rat race.